The steel door slammed shut with a sound so loud it felt like thunder inside a box. The light above flickered once, then stayed on. Marcus Reed stood alone in a tiny concrete room, no bigger than a bathroom. No window, no clock, no sound but his own breathing. He had been locked inside Pelican Bay's SHU for 10 years. 10 years without touching another person. 10 years without seeing the sky. 10 years locked away for something the guards said was information. As the door sealed tight, Marcus pressed his hands to the cold wall and whispered, "How long this time?" No one answered. Somewhere down the hallway, another door began to close, then another. The whole unit was locking down again. And Marcus knew something big was about to happen. Pelican Bay State Prison sat far in the north of California, near tall trees and cold fog. It was built to hold people who were called the worst of the worst. But inside Pelican Bay was a place even more secret than the prison itself. It was called the SHU. That word stood for Security Housing Unit, but most inmates called it something else, the hole. The SHU was not like the prison people saw on TV. There were no yard fights, no loud talking, no groups of men walking together. In the SHU, men lived alone. Each person stayed in a concrete cell for about 22 to 24 hours a day. The cells were gray. The beds were hard. The lights were always on. Marcus Reed arrived at Pelican Bay when he was 24 years old. He had grown up in Los Angeles. As a kid, he liked drawing cars and listening to music with his cousins. He made bad choices as a teen and ended up in prison. He thought prison would be loud and rough, but he never imagined silence could hurt more. At first, Marcus was placed in general population. He learned the rules. He kept his head down. But one day, guards came to his cell and told him to pack up. They said he was being sent to the SHU. When he asked why, they said he had been validated. Validation was a word that scared everyone. It meant the prison believed you were part of a gang. Sometimes it was based on a note. Sometimes on a drawing. Sometimes on what another inmate said. Marcus was never charged with a new crime. He never had a trial. Still, he was sent to the SHU. The first night was the hardest. The cell door closed, and the sound echoed in his chest. The room smelled like metal and soap. A guard slid food through a slot without looking at him. Marcus tried to sleep, but the light stayed on. His mind raced. He counted his breaths until morning. Days in the SHU moved slowly. Breakfast came early. Lunch came quietly. Dinner came the same way. There was no talking, no work, no school. Sometimes Marcus was allowed to leave his cell to shower. Sometimes he went to the yard, but the yard was just another concrete box with a metal grate above it. You could see a small piece of sky if you tilted your head just right. People outside believed the SHU was for dangerous men who could not be controlled. They thought inmates in the SHU were violent every day. But reports and interviews later told a different story. Many men in the SHU had no recent rule breaks. Some had been there for 5, 10, even 20 years. They were locked away not for what they did, but for what the prison believed they knew. Marcus marked time by small changes. A new scratch on the wall. A new guard voice. A new gray hair in his reflection. He wrote letters to his mother, Denise. She wrote back about home, about his little sister starting college, about the dog getting old. Marcus read those letters again and again until the paper became soft. There were highs and lows, even in silence. One high was when Marcus got a book. Reading helped him escape the walls. A low was when weeks passed with no human voice speaking his name. Sometimes he talked to himself just to remember how it sounded. Other inmates tapped on walls to talk in code. 1 tap meant yes.
2 meant no.
3 meant you still there? Marcus learned the taps. At night, the walls would whisper with soft knocks, like a secret heartbeat of the SHU. As years passed, anger came and went. Fear stayed. Marcus heard stories through the walls. Men losing their minds. Men hurting themselves. Men giving up. He promised himself he would not disappear, even if the world forgot him. Outside the prison, people began to ask questions. Lawyers filed cases. Families protested. Journalists wrote stories. Documentaries showed the inside of the SHU. They showed cells just like Marcus's. They showed men saying they had been locked away for years with no clear way out. The prison said the SHU kept everyone safe. Inmates said it was breaking them. One morning, something changed. The food slot opened, but no tray came through. The hallway was too quiet, even for the SHU. Marcus felt a strange tightness in his chest. Then he heard tapping, fast and urgent. 3 taps. 3 taps. 3 taps. It meant danger. A voice shouted far down the tier. Boots ran. Keys clanged. An alarm began to ring, sharp and loud, cutting through the silence like a knife. Marcus stepped back from the door as the lights flickered again. The SHU was locking down. Not just one cell. All of them. Marcus pressed his ear to the cold steel door as the alarm screamed on. Whatever was happening, it was big. And it was about to change everything. Hours passed. No food. No movement. Just the hum of the light and the sound of Marcus breathing. He sat on his bed and tried to slow his thoughts. In the SHU, your mind could turn against you if you let it run wild. Finally, a guard stopped at his door. Stand back. Hands through the slot, the guard said. Marcus did as he was told. Cold metal cuffs snapped around his wrists. The door opened for the first time that day. 2 guards escorted him into the hallway. Other cell doors were opening too. Men stepped out, blinking under the bright lights, confused and silent. Marcus had not seen this many people at once in years. They were taken to a small holding area. Everyone stayed in cuffs. No one spoke. After a long wait, a prison official entered. He held papers in his hands. His voice was calm, but tight. There has been a unit-wide incident, the official said. Until further notice, procedures are changing. No one explained what the incident was. Marcus was taken back to his cell later that night. The door closed again, but something felt different. The air felt heavy, like before a storm. Tapping started on the walls soon after. 3 taps. 2 taps. Long pause. 1 tap. It was broken, nervous talk. The next morning, Marcus learned what had happened. A man 2 tiers down had collapsed in his cell. He had been in the SHU for over 15 years. Guards found him unresponsive. Some said he had stopped eating weeks before. Others said he had been asking for help and never got it. The story moved through the SHU faster than any official message. This was the low point, the kind that made men stare at walls and wonder how much longer they could last. Marcus thought about his mother. He thought about the years slipping away. He thought about how the public still believed the SHU was only for monsters. But the truth, shown in reports and interviews, was that many men inside were not violent anymore. Some never were. They were locked away because the system did not know what else to do with them. Days later, something unexpected happened. Marcus was called out again. This time, no cuffs. He was taken to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. A man in a suit sat across from him. He introduced himself as a prison investigator. We're reviewing SHU placements, the man said. Tell me about your validation. Marcus's heart jumped. This was a high point, a rare one. He spoke slowly and clearly. He explained how he was validated based on old drawings and notes that were not his. He explained how he had stayed discipline-free for years. He explained the long isolation, the silence, the nights that felt endless. The investigator listened. He wrote notes. He asked questions. For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt seen. Weeks passed. Life in the SHU continued, but rumors grew. Some men said lawsuits were forcing change. Others said hunger strikes had finally reached the outside world. News reports talked about Pelican Bay, about the SHU, about men locked away for decades. Marcus received a letter from his mother. She said she saw Pelican Bay on TV. She said people were finally talking. She said she was proud of him for surviving. That night, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Then the lows returned. A guard began harassing inmates. Showers were delayed. Mail came late or not at all. Tension built again. Men tapped angrily on the walls. Sleep became harder. Marcus felt that tight feeling in his chest return.